do things like that. I'm not just gonna shit over another man's country just because they're foreign. I treat every country with some degree of respect, unless they're under an oppressed ruler. There are many forms of wrestling that have been developed across the world, with one of the more popular coming from Mexico, where their stars traditionally wear masks with honor and perform an art form known as Lucha Libre, with AAA giving us their interpretation with Héroes del Ring. That means Heroes of the Ring.
The only wrestling I've ever watched is from American-based promotions. I've never seen anything from Canada, Mexico, Japan, or any other promotion apart from the UK. I don't have time to watch everything wrestling, just like I don't have time to watch every popular show that's streaming, or anything MCU related. But I'm always open to trying something out, this being no exception. Lucha Libre AAA Heroes del Ring was the very first wrestling game based on the traditional Mexican style of wrestling from arguably Mexico's most popular promotion in AAA. And that's as much as I can say about it. I mean, most people only know about the game because it was part of Konami's disastrous E3 presentation in its release year, so it wasn't giving off the best first impressions. I don't even know what involvement Konami had with this title. I'm guessing distributor, as it was developed by Immersion Games and published by Slang, two companies who have done fuck all in the industry. Heroes del Ring was released for only the PS3 and Xbox 360 in North America on October 12, 2010. Support goes up to 4 players, and the ESRB rated it a T14. I like simple box art like this. Don't need to insult the eyes with so much action all at once. Just do a little and it could be enough to entice curious customers. The color palette of red, black, and yellow go nicely with the logo, and the cover star so happens to be... Lucha Libre caricature number uno. I learned this gentleman goes by Dr. Wagner, and he apparently won this honor by winning a fatal 4-way at E3. Apparently it was televised, but I can't find it. But I can find the back of the box, and by flipping it over we can see, oh wow, a shit ton of text comprising of some useful and some useless info, with a couple screenshots and the tagline of, "It's not wrestling, it's Lucha Libre." Guess if you don't overflow the front, it's gotta go on the back.
All this reading is making me hungry. Cody! Yeah? I'm in need of something to eat. Make me something, will ya? You got limbs, you do it. I've also got WrestleBound to do. I don't got time to do it, but you have all the time with you and your fat ass. Okay, Smark, what's in it for me? I'll take you to the Pinball Hall of Fame the next time we go to Vegas. Deal. Who knows when the next pay-per-view will be there, so I think I'll be safe from dragging him around for the foreseeable future.
I would usually be worried about a wrestling game's opening only showing programming and not actual gameplay, but I think there's a good reason for it this time around.
Since American audiences won't be familiar with the promotion, they gotta give us a little taste of what it's like, cause, you know, we fear everything that's south of the border. Now we know how Canadians feel. But I can still get down with Parka's moveset.
My ignorance of Lucha Libre continues once we look at the available roster, and besides knowing Parka and Psychosis from their time in WCW, I don't have any idea who the other 10 available luchadors are.
But that isn't gonna stop me from taking wild guesses. A man of God, spirit, and Mexican Jesus. Damian Priest if he had shorter hair. Marilyn Manson's sibling or impersonator. Either the creep couldn't be bothered, copyright did a workaround, or they struck a deal like Bischoff did Kiss. Ninja. Abdullah if he lost some weight and was Samoan. Hannibal Lecter, holy shit. Zorro if he was Dishonored. Wolfpack Sting, no question about it. If Brandon Lee's Crow and Jeff Hardy's wardrobe had a child. And the literal devil. Yep, he's my pick.
You'll notice that there's a theme to do with the faces and heels, or in this case, the Técnicos and Rudos. So to stick with tradition, I'll pick Psychosis, who's apparently a bad guy.
I wouldn't know why that is the case, but this is a few years removed from allegedly committing Grand Theft Auto, so that should give you one reason to boo him. What is this?
Just some bread.
As plain as you are. Very funny, you fuck. Well, I am in the mood for a sandwich. Make me my favorite.
Which is?
You've known me long enough to know.
Yeah, long enough to be a self-centered prick. After getting some much-needed advice from your stereotypical Indian wrestler, we get to see what this demon is all about. So far, the graphics are looking good, minus the tiny slowdown, which I think is caused by the flaming pyro, and I also feel sorry for him because he has to exemplify his abs and muscles with Sharpie.
Hey man, your mask sells your gimmick. Nothing wrong with a muscle gut.
But there may be something wrong with this control setup. I want you to hazard a guess what the X button does. It isn't for punching, it isn't for kicking, it isn't even for strong attacks. It's instead reserved for picking up items amongst other functions.
I hate it when games do this, and it happened recently too. It feels better when the X is one of the primary buttons, so you can easily reach for another button like square or circle. Having them spread out makes it more difficult and confusing. Don't need to fix what isn't broken, experiment elsewhere. And they might have a little with using R2 and L2 for a weak and strong grapple, followed by any of the shaped buttons to execute moves. The left stick is to walk, the direction buttons to taunt, and wow, these controls suck so much I lost in 1 minute.
That was embarrassing, so let's see if I can redeem myself in a rematch. Reversals I've noticed are more key than in regular wrestling games, and thank God it's only mapped to one button. Only problem is I cannot counter for the life of me, and Psychosis is a countering machine.
This game just wants me to change the difficulty, but I have honor. I'd rather eat shit than sacrifice my pride. I didn't mean that literally, you sick fuck!
You can tell your body's damaged by looking at the indicator next to your meter. Build it up by performing different moves to get the 5th star that represents your finishing maneuver, and I've taken more than enough paralyzers for 1 day to keep me down for the count again.
God damn, this game is pissing me off. I think I better get in my element and be one with the lucha. Time to do a lucha thing.
I tried different things to give me an edge, which led us to going outside the ring, but I couldn't figure out how to get back in, so I got screwed out of another victory.
I also can't figure out how some of these luchadors do it. I can barely see out of these eye holes.
We're not off to the best of starts. The game looks good, but I'm not used to these controls even after 3 abysmal matches. But we still have more to look over, so let's head back into the Pride Battle. There are only 5 other match types available, which is a bit sad, but one of them is bound to give me a victory. You can also adjust the rules beforehand, including picking the referee.
I could get it for other games, but why this one in particular? It just sounds like they put more time into motion capturing Pepe than they did the luchadoras, which there are none of, and I wouldn't count these crack babes in bikinis as anything but weird eye candy.
I started with a handicap match, adding Manson to my team to murder Psychosis, and I pretty much let him do all the work while I came in from time to time to keep things going our way. There was just one problem with this strategy. The computers suck at fighting one another.
When it's a CPU versus a CPU, it drags on, but when it's me versus a CPU, they kick my ass.
It took 10 fucking minutes to finally put him down, and I was not satisfied with this victory, so I decided to up the stakes and make it a 3-on-1 in my favor, adding El Elegido to my stable, which I learned translates to the Chosen One.
I didn't know Drew had a stint in Mexico. Whoa, man, put your yin-yang elsewhere, Christ alive.
This was more chaotic, but in a good way this time, as I was able to have more of an effect on the outcome, providing the impactful chokeslam for the win.
Even when I have some other guy doing all the dirty work, I'm starting to get somewhat familiar with these controls. What is this, bologna? No, it's just lettuce. Do you have any idea what my favorite sandwich is? We've been bros for over 2 decades. You've done more with me than you have Brian or Jacob or Kevin. You should know what goes in between this bread. It isn't lettuce, it isn't knuckles, and you better not come back with a sausage. Hey, where is my sandwich, you cock?
The remaining matches were in turn entertaining now that I had a better handling of the controls. I was able to get through a tag team match no problem, and I seemed to have the triple threat in the bag until the Punishment Martinez lookalike caught me off guard with a knockout submission, and I tried to take revenge in the fatal facing of 4.
That name sounds so much sicker that way around.
But I was held out by those that were already eliminated, thus giving Vampiro a count-out win. The second time that kind of victory happened in this game.
God, I'm getting mayhem flashbacks, and I don't want to go back to the dark ages. We just got out of them, and WCW didn't suffer by themselves.
I think I have some dignity back, so I can leave it at the door and check out what there is left to do. Options are minimal, but are your typical affair. Extras are cool, as you can look into the biographies of the wrestlers, which was a big brain move, and input retail codes, which I'm assuming are cheat codes, but I have no idea.
There's no information on what this is supposed to do. The only cheat code I do know turns the wrestlers into midgets. Now I gotta recreate that clip I love so much. Can we make that possible? Probably not.
Training can get you familiar with the controls in a few different ways.
I really have to tackle these first or before my second match so I don't make a total fool out of myself.
Which I may be doing now once I create a luchador. I decided to go the honorable route and put a mask on myself, and although I couldn't put my full name on the shirt, this logo was a very suitable replacement, and I got a pretty good representation of myself if I ever had a stint in Mexico. You can set up everything here, including your moves, entrances, and hell, you don't have to stop there, as the banner editor is where you can create your own sign for the fans to use. This is a great idea that I'm surprised nobody had thought to do up until now, at least to my knowledge anyway, and I know exactly what my fans are gonna promote.
God damn it! I can't escape his stupid blue ass.
Whatever, man. I'll still prove I'm the best in story mode. This is where you can get an idea of what AAA and the Lucha Libre style is all about, as well as competing in matches in order to unlock additional wrestlers, among other things. I was having fun with this, and my understanding of the controls were getting better, but then I ran into a handicap match, and that's never any fun.
It's not even a challenge, it's just unfair. I don't know what Mexicans find entertaining, but this isn't it.
The last real mode to talk about is the King of Kings, which is what you might have guessed. A tourney-style mode, but sounds much better than it actually is. I went with Electroshock, and his entrance is hands down the best, and I survived to the semifinals before losing to La Parka.
Honestly, it doesn't bother me that much losing to a legend, and by the way, there is an online mode, but I doubt anyone is playing this or will be playing this anytime soon, since those features will be turned off eventually. I wish companies would keep these little bits of history up, but the world isn't perfect. Speaking of which... Finally, you made my favorite sandwich. Yeah, PB&J. What? Peanut butter and jelly? Oh, is that what this is called? I never knew that. My God, not only do you eat like an 8-year-old, but you have the brain of an 80-year-old. You don't deserve this. What? Hey, give me that back, or you're not going to the arcade for a week.
Heroes del Ring received generally middling reviews from critics across both versions. There isn't any info on how well it sold, but I can guess it didn't do well considering Immersion Games folded not long after this was released, Slang would be out of business years later, and Konami, well, did what Konami does. There was going to be more ports to the Nintendo DS, Wii, and PSP, but they were all shelved. But interestingly enough, I've seen copies of the Wii port go on sale, so I'm wondering what the history is behind this port. And I think I'd better get a copy before the prices soar on it.
It takes a while to make a perfect sandwich. In the beginning it may seem sloppy and unlike how your parents used to do it, but with enough time and practice, you'll be able to make it your own. But most of the time, it'll be so-so. And that's how I feel about this game, all things considered.
I appreciate the attempt by all parties involved to make a wrestling game representing of their culture, but I don't think enough was truly done to make it stand out as much as it could have. The graphics are decent for the time, and it certainly feels different, but the controls are definitely a learning curve compared to other games, and I don't think this game is truly representative of the style I think of as Lucha Libre, and goes for a more grounded arcade style. This game has some pluses and minuses, it isn't bad, but it could have been much more. It's an interesting curiosity you might want to try out, so you can get closure for all that titty slapping that happened at that infamous E3 conference.
I don't think this game is gonna make me go out of my way to watch AAA or anything like that, but it still left some sort of impression, so I'm gonna follow the crowd and give it 2.5 stars. I'm sure watching different styles of wrestling has its moments, but let's be honest, nothing can really compare to the glory, the grandeur, and the magnificence of a WrestleMania. Unless, of course, said WrestleMania isn't all that great, and there have been a few like that in the past, and other times they can be okay to the point that only one match is why they remember the whole event.